Welcome, my friends, to another YouTube version of the BJJ Brick podcast. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel. So here we go.
Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 184 of the BJJ Brick podcast. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary. Today we're talking about the speed of your jiu-jitsu. Gary, Speedy Gonzalez over there. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great. And when Byron says we're going to talk about speed and jiu-jitsu, we're not talking about methamphetamines. We are talking about fast or slowness in jiu-jitsu. So, I know we probably, got some listeners, extra listeners that normally don't do BJJ when they heard about speed. So, just want to clarify before you go on to listen to any more of this podcast.
Yeah, stay listening. If you came for a little podcast on some pretty hard drugs, stick around for the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. It might change your life. You're probably putting yourself in a hard situation. So, Gary...
that's a good point, Byron. I like that.
Interesting start to the podcast, Gary.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify to make sure everybody was up to speed on this.
There you
no
go.
Pun intended.
Nice pun there that you clearly intended to throw in. Something that I intend to mention this episode is that we do have an email list. It is not too fast and not too slow, but just right. We send you out an email once a week. And in that email will be the show notes to the podcast. It's our way to stay in contact with you guys and get the show notes delivered to you at just the right speed. So swing by the website, bjjbrick.com, or by our Facebook page. Enter your name and email address, and you'll be getting the emails once a week.
Yes, definitely. Hey, and I'd also like to thank Jason Quint, one of our listeners. He happened to stop by in Wichita here the other day and contacted Byron and I, and we got a chance to roll. So thank you, Jason. And if you're ever up in Mankato, Minnesota, check out Mankato College, Mankato State, Minnesota State BJJ Club, where Jason's at. Thank you, Jason.
Yep, and Jason, it was a pleasure meeting you, and you get to see a little bit of Gary's fashion sense. He shows up in business clothes, leaves in no-gi attire, and forgets to bring any kind of other shoes to wear. So, you get to see how he rolls. Hey,
thanks for reminding me, Byron. Way to enhance my self-esteem.
Gary, you look great. The shoes make the man, is what some people say. I don't really believe that, but you had some really nice shoes on there with your no-gi when you were walking out of the building. Yep,
no-gi grappling shorts, dress shoes, tube socks, and T-shirt. Great attire. Speaking of great attire, if you're going to dress like I was just saying, you are going to need to be very good at jiu-jitsu, and you're going to have to stick with it. So one way to stick with it is check out Byron's audiobook. It's called Your First Year in BJJ, 2.5 hours of content, walking you through your first year, things you're going to encounter in your first year. We've talked about it before. The first year is probably the toughest year to keep going, and we want you to keep going. And especially if you do dress like I was just talking about, you're going to need to keep going. You're going to need to know how to defend yourself. So definitely check it out. It's getting great reviews. Like I said, 2.5 hours of content. Byron walking you through your first year of jiu-jitsu. It's definitely going to flatten your learning curve and speed up your learning process. So check it out. We have a link to it on the show notes.
We sure do. And also, if you look in the show notes, you'll find the quote of the week. Gary, what do we have this week for the quote?
Well, we have everybody's favorite quotator, Anita Goodman. Anita said, "Always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later."
Gary, so I realize you probably need a good man, but that's what you were wearing leaving the academy the other day was not going to get that happen. Not going to get that done. You need to dress for success. So either leave wearing sandals and kind of look like you're a little more laid back, or put your business clothes back on, and that'll help you find that person you're looking for, that special guy.
Byron, what are we talking about?
You need a good man, you said.
No, that was our author, Anita Goodman.
Well, that's what I'm telling you, Garrett. You're just not going to find that good man dressed in no-gi attire with business shoes.
Byron, you got issues, sir.
Well, the actual author of this is Og Mandino, an American author that died in 1996. Gary mentioned this author's name was kind of strange before the podcast started recording here, and I set you up for kind of a lame joke, my friend.
Oh, boy. I'm getting picked on each and every week, I'm thinking. So, I'm glad I'm training jiu-jitsu. So, in case it goes from, jokes to chokes, I'll be prepared.
Keep working out. Keep doing your jiu-jitsu. Garrett, you'll find that good man someday. Don't give up, my friend.
Why, thank you. I always do my best. And I always say, what I plant now, I will harvest later.
There you go. That's the quote. What you always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later. What does that mean to you, Gary?
Byron, well, I'm actually not a farmer, but I could be if I put my mind to it, because we can do anything we want to do. But what we do now, the habits we have now, showing up to class on time, showing up a couple times a week, drilling, with your partner, doing extra drilling. We, all that work we put in now, we're going to harvest later, which basically means down the road, it's going to help us when it comes tournament time, when it's going to come belt testing time. Everything we do today is going to help us tomorrow. It's going to help us the next day. It's going to make us better grapplers, better jiu-jitsu practitioners down the road. So, we want to have good habits, practice those habits, do them diligently, and we will reap the rewards.
I think of the farmer, and you might see the farmer taking the crop in to sell it, and just think, man, that farmer did great. It's just like watching the grappler compete. Like, man, that person is doing great, but really you're missing what happened before that. And that's really when you're planting the seeds, you're training hard, you're training those extra hours, you're studying the techniques and developing a smart game. All that stuff, you'll harvest that later. That hard work that you're doing beforehand is planting and caring for the crops.
Byron, this is changing the subject, but I just got the name, Anita Goodman. I did not get that, and I'm just looking at the quote, and I was like, Anita Goodman. He got me.
That's why I was telling you that you'll find that good special guy if you keep looking.
I didn't even know I just thought you were talking about Goodman. I didn't get the first name. That was good, Byron.
Yes, you need a Goodman.
That was pretty good, man.
Talk about I thought, Gary, I was a little bit, I guess, too cautious because I thought you would see that joke coming a mile away. It turns out that joke hit you a mile late. And,
man, it hit me right between the eyes, and I still missed it. Anita Goodman.
Yeah,
that was good.
The first name is really tied into the first, meaning that you would need a good man.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't explain it good enough, Gary, but when you explain the joke, you kill it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? But I get it now. That was good.
That made the joke so much better.
Sorry for spoiling your joke. I'm my joke getting is about as good as my jiu-jitsu. I'm slow to the point.
Well, I did distract you with a quote. You're trying to figure out how to say the quote and how to present it. And once I popped that in, you probably were still thinking about the quote. This whole quote, now I'm a little troubled because over the past couple of months, I've played several jokes on Gary.
Several?
Yeah. Some of them on the podcast, some of them in real life. But what I plant now, I'll probably harvest later. I don't know what that means. I feel that I have a good amount of revenge headed my way.
Oh, there's going to be some. So better watch out.
So, this quote kind of speaks to me in my shenanigans and tells me to behave myself with my co-host before he gets too much of a revenge.
Yep, it could happen. Seems like I'm the butt of all the jokes, but I don't care. I'm I think it's pretty funny. So I'll give you that one, Byron. That was good.
All right. Well, keep looking for that guy, and you'll find him someday, Gary.
Yep. Man, you were pretty good at this because, when we scheduled the time today, we're recording this at 8:30 at night. I've been at work from 8 to 6. I left at 6. I ran home to grab something to eat real quick. I go straight to the Y. I run home and I take a shower. I come down here and I log on at 8:29, and we're doing this at 8:30. When I was talking to Byron beforehand, he heard me still out of breath, drinking a green tea real quick just to try to hydrate myself. And I hadn't had time to even relax, so I hadn't even sat down or really went over everything. But even if I did go over, I still wouldn't have got it. But, just perfect timing too, Byron. That was good.
I see your play on the theme of the week of speed or timing is also very nice there, Gary.
Yeah, but I didn't plan that either. So, yeah. Yep. But, yeah, speaking of speed or timing, that is our topic of this week. We're going to talk about the speed of your jiu-jitsu. And like we said, has nothing to do with enhancements or drugs. I guess they're not self-enhancing drugs. They're illegal drugs, methamphetamines. We are not talking about that. So, Byron, what do we mean by the speed of your jiu-jitsu?
Well, some people play a fast game, and some people play a slower style, and some people change it up. And I think one of the main things that people always say is, your technique or strength or flexibility. But speed is definitely an element to jiu-jitsu that has a pretty big effect on what you're able to do. If just imagine somebody who's twice as fast as you, and at jiu-jitsu, they're going to be able to be a step ahead of you much of the time. So that, it's similar to somebody who's twice as strong as you. Sure, the person who's being fast is probably using more energy, but to be honest, the person who is that fast using that much energy could probably do that for a long time. That's why they're fast. That's an attribute that goes with having that good cardio output. So that's kind of my take on the basic attribute of speed. You don't always have it. You could have it now, when you're younger, and you might lose it further down the road. It's not something that you should bank on and build it as a cornerstone of your jiu-jitsu, but definitely in a competitive setting, being able to move quickly is a big advantage. It might hold you back a little bit in training if you kind of blow by some things and don't focus on really learning the details behind techniques. Gary, what do you think about just general overall topic of speed and grappling?
I'm kind of with you, Byron. You are going to have some very fast people, and then older individuals like myself. I know we talk to Joe Thomas a lot. We are going to be slower. That's one of my big things. I'm always trying to keep contact with the person I'm training with or competing with, because I want it. If I keep contact, I can slow that down. I think, if you're slower like myself, you really need to have better technique. You need to be more efficient, more effective. Coming out of a scramble, I know I'm going to be slower than everybody. I'm going to lose a scramble. So I need to make that up with precise movements, with really good technique. But I do see when I try to go faster, I don't feel like I make mistakes, but I feel like I get tired quicker. Like I know you were just talking about some of those people that, train really fast, move really fast. They're used to it. Like you said, their output's higher, but a lot of them can go a long way like that. So, I do think it is two very distinct styles, and you really need to know, how to do both of them. Even though I don't consider myself fast, I do need to, change tempos. You can't keep the same tempo all the time. You do need to, I do need to try to go fast at times, go slow at times, and somewhere in between. I just can't stay, at my tortoise pace. I have to speed it up sometimes.
Yeah, if you're doing a pressure pass, you don't need to be fast at all. Even if you have that, if you're the fastest person in your gym and you're trying to do a pressure pass, slow things down, let them feel the pressure, and then work that pass. Same thing if you get side control or a position that you put some pressure on somebody. slow it down. Make that person bear your weight. No need to be real fast right there. And sure, if you're going to pass standing up and try to pass and throwing the legs from side to side, or real quick attacks from the guard, throw up a couple of them in combination. Speed is your friend, but you need to try to evaluate for yourself if you're a fast or slow grappler, and just kind of know that if everyone who grapples with you tells you to slow down a little bit, you are probably going a little too fast. If you just seem to be getting beat to the punch all the time, and you just have no answer for everyone else's speed, maybe you're on the slower end of the spectrum. And there are some things you could do to increase your speed, but is that something that you really want to work on? The same thing is flexibility or strength. Do you want to work on that and increase it, or do you just want to keep on doing what you're doing in jiu-jitsu? They're both fine answers. It depends on what your goals are.
Yeah, and it goes back to our quote: "What you plant now, you'll harvest later." You're talking about flexibility. If you want to work on your flexibility and you're putting in that time trying to get more flexible, stretching, working on mobility movements, that flexibility is going to help you in the future. Same thing with strength. If you're putting in the time, in the weight room, that strength will help you down the road. Speed. If you're putting in time drilling movements, getting faster at those different movements, it's going to help you, in the future. You are going to get faster.
Out of a lot of the attributes we talk about, strength, speed, flexibility, knowledge, I think speed is the most fickle. It will leave you at a quicker rate. You always have a certain amount of strength that you're going to maintain. Even as you get older, you get that older person's strength. If you're flexible, a lot of times you can maintain that into your older age. But speed is something that seems to be a little bit harder to keep going down the road long term. You could maintain a high level of speed compared to people in your age category, but sometimes it's a little harder. And I don't really know where the age kind of thing breaks. At 35 or 45 or 55, is where it really falls off there. Somewhere it does for people, and but that's one that, if you're really banking on it heavy now, you might want to occasionally slow some things down and to just feel like what it is like to grapple a little slower.
Well said, Byron.
Let's just say we have a younger athlete here. What would be a good reason that they should slow things down a little bit? If they are going, I say younger like this, like they're going fast, but say we have a faster grappler here. What would be a good reason that they should slow things down and go a little bit slower?
First of all, I think one thing is, especially if you're not, top notch, which, you're talking a younger person is probably not a black belt by now. When I'm thinking younger, I'm thinking 14, 15, 16 years old. But I do think you miss some stuff trying to go too fast. I know one of my very first instructor, John Castillo, used to always tell me to slow down. And I started this sport at 35, so I can't say that I was fast at 35, and I can't say I'm fast right now. But I think I tried to be fast. I attributed being good at jiu-jitsu to being able to do stuff fast. I would watch competitions and watch some of these top-level 22, 25-year-olds, pulling off these moves, with lightning speed. And I would equate that speed to, I have to do stuff, that quick to be a good jiu-jitsu artist. And so I would try to do everything fast. And while I was working so hard on doing everything fast, I missed a lot of the basics that I needed to do. I was trying to do shortcuts, I guess, to make the move faster, forgetting hand positioning, forgetting, like Byron said, if you're passing, with a pressure pass, I was more worried about passing than I was about keeping that pressure on the person and, trying to, punish that person, with the pressure. And I missed a lot of stuff. In scrambles, I would just try to be very fast, but I would miss that arm dangling or that leg dangling or that neck dangling, in the middle of the scramble. I didn't see a lot of stuff. And, I never really understood when I first started what John was always telling me to do, slow down. Slow down, you'll see stuff. And as I start seeing that stuff and getting better, then I can slowly start ramping the speed up and trying to get up to that original pace that I was keeping. So, I think that's one of the reasons to slow down, just to get better technique and make sure you do everything properly and not miss any of the opportunities that show up during your roll.
Yeah, that's great advice, Gary. I think about even that pressure pass where you're trying to slow things down and pass and really kind of wear the person out a little bit as you do the pass. Also, while you're doing that pass, start to think about where their arms are. Take the time to kind of arrange their arms in a way that when you do pass the side control, their arms are way out of position. If you just fly past the guard and just happen to jump there or something really quickly, their arms might be in a great spot to escape really quick. So you kind of are playing a game there that the slow, deliberate passer, it might end up in a better position in side control than the person who is just trying to pass very quickly and kind of make a scramble out of their pass. Both are effective passes. I'm not going to debate that, but there's just some things that you don't think about. You would think, if I could be faster, I'd be better. Well, at some things you would be better, but sometimes it's a smart move to slow down, even when you're competing, especially when you're learning. If you're in the exploration phase of learning the technique and you're going to do them real fast, you're probably making a ton of mistakes like Gary was talking about. You probably should slow things down, find the details, and really get those hammered into your brain and your body before you increase the speed.
Yeah, and, I kind of like what you said about, as you're passing. It's not like we just want to put the pressure on and then pass. We want to make sure when we're passing, we get the arms out of place. Our goal isn't just to pass the guard. I mean, sure, we're going to get some points, and sure, we're going to be in a better position. But do we really want to pass the guard and let that guy have his hands, where he wants them to be? We want arms out of place. We want legs out of place. We want, hips turned the other way. We want to put ourselves in the most advantageous position when we pass. And we want to be able to keep that pressure on, too, while we're after we've passed, to punish that person a little bit more, to make it hard to breathe, to make it hard to move. What we want to do is we want that person, first of all, to start getting tired from being smashed, but then secondly, use all their energy and make a terrible move and expose an arm or something trying to get out as a last-ditch effort, and we take that. So you brought up a good point there, Byron, that when we do pass, why go too fast? We want to make sure that we get our opponent out of position, put them put us in an advantageous position, and them where they're weak. We want them at the weakest part of their game.
Yeah, there are disadvantages to slowing down, though. I mean that things won't flow as well for you. You may not be able to transition in time. A lot of jiu-jitsu, especially competitive jiu-jitsu, no matter what level you're at, timing is a big factor. And if you're going slower, they're going to have that advantage on timing, and they're just going to. Why would they not take that advantage? So definitely, there are times to speed up and times to slow down.
Yeah, and we talked about changing that pace. A lot of times, I consider myself on the slower side of rolling. And, people know my game. I try to keep a tight game, when I'm passing, if I have your back and stuff. But as you know, Byron, once I get into an advantageous position, I'm not as tight because I really look for submissions. So I want you to move a little bit so I can grab something. I don't stay that tight in that position. But what I've noticed is that the tempo change where, people are used to me, being a little bit slower. And then as I explode for something, I think I catch them off balance. We may have been rolling for 3 minutes and everything's taking place at a pace that's slower than what that person is used to going. It's kind of in my realm. And then all of a sudden, I kind of explode for something. And I think I catch them off guard. They get used to a slower tempo, and then, I speed it up a little bit. So, changing that pace, I think, can be advantageous.
Yeah, that's a good tip there. Kind of not necessarily go super slow to kind of lull them asleep, but just let them get into the rhythm that you're grappling in, and then slam on the accelerator just for a second or two. Even it could be longer, and you'll catch them by surprise. And that's a good thing to do to people, is catch them by surprise.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about scrambles in a previous episode, but it kind of reminds me of a scramble. We're going, the pace is really slow, and then all of a sudden we're kind of, nobody's in an advantageous position, but we're going crazy like a mouse in a circular wheel, just pedaling away as fast as he can. And that's kind of what a scramble reminds me of. But the pace slows, and then all of a sudden it explodes, and finally somebody comes out that scramble and wins and establishes position that slows down again. So there are going to be tempo changes during the match.
Gary, a big part of speed in jiu-jitsu is being able to control the pace. Some positions lend themselves more towards a quicker pace. You might look at stand-up and think that's a place you have to have a little bit of speed to do well. You might look at closed guard and say, hey, it's a slow-paced guard, and if both the passer and slower are going to be both the passer and guard player are going to have to be pretty deliberate with their movements in this position. So it's not just the person or the players; it's also the particular game that they're locked into at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. I as we were talking about this topic, I never even really thought about that. But you are right. Some of those positions are going to, lead to either you going a little slower or a little bit faster.
Yeah, look at the footlock race sometimes people get involved in. And people
fast.
are rolling around and trying to lock up feet and kicking feet and lots of going on. Play that game slowly, and you're liable to just get tapped out.
You're going to get tapped out.
You have to match the pace of the other person. If you can't, it's going to be a good idea to change the game and to not play that sort of a game and change it to something that is a little more controlled. Gary, what are some ways you could control the speed? Either, I don't know, increase it or slow it down. What are some ways you could do this?
Well, I guess I'm a little bit better at slowing it down. But, I think one of the things is distance. I notice me being a little bit slower. If I give distance to my opponent, if my opponent and myself are a ways from each other, we are not, touching, we are not, entangled. That to me is an advantage for the faster person. I'm always trying to slow the pace down. So I always like to be touching. I try to be close to my opponent. Not too close where, I'm going to get thrown or whatever, but, I want to have good grips. I know I'm not a huge gi guy, but, grips are very important. In no gi, grips, same thing. I like to have wrist control, or I like to have an underhook, a collar tie, even, ties over your legs, a butterfly hook, anything just to keep me, in contact with my opponent. And I feel like I can slow it down to be more advantageous for myself.
Gary, let's play a little game here. I'm going to throw a position out at you, and you tell me if it's fast or slow or kind of in the middle. We'll see what we get.
I have a feeling that you're probably setting me up for another joke, but I'll go along with it.
Well, I don't have one yet, but we'll see.
Because this is not on our outline.
No, it's
so
not.
I figure that I'm getting thrown under the bus here.
I have answers to these, and if I disagree with you, I'll say something, and if not, I'll just assume that I agree with you. Half guard, is that slow or fast?
I personally think half guard is slow.
Yeah, typically half guard is slow. Standing at a distance.
Standing at a distance is fast. And it's funny, I've got a training partner who's got an incredible double leg blast. And I know every time when we're standing and he gets a little bit of space, I'm gonna go for a ride. So I do anything possible to close that distance. But I say fast.
How about standing kind of a head and arm tie up?
Standing with a head and arm tie up. I could say that's fast. I do think it could be slowed down, but normally if you got a head and arm, you're talking wrestling, you're going to throw somebody onto the mat. So I mean, it's going to be explosive movement. Yeah,
I agree. That is fast. Let's do some guards here. Butterfly guard, is that a fast or slow position?
I've seen it both ways. I guess it could be in the middle. Myself, I kind of use it to slow down. I kind of look for sweeps off of that, but I do see a lot of people with a butterfly guard sliding under somebody and taking a leg, which I think is a pretty fast movement.
Now, how about a gi guard, Gary? So picture yourself in a gi, which is unusual, but you'll have sleeves on, and they can put you in a spider guard.
Spider guard, definitely slow. I do have to break the grips if I'm put into it. If I'm the one doing it, I do have to get very good grips. I do have to get, my feet in position, and I do think that is slow.
Close guard.
Close guard is slow. It's really trying to control the pace, but we talk about it slow. There are some very explosive movements. Throwing a triangle up out of a close guard. I mean, a triangle can go either way. Sometimes it's like a snake. Very slow, waiting. Slowly squeezing pressure and getting to the position. Or I still never forget watching Jason Burchard show me a triangle one day. And he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden he just pops his leg up, and he's got me in a triangle. It reminded me of a frog, where the tongue goes out and catches a fly. So, and I also think about arm bars. Sometimes you're in a close guard, and somebody puts an arm down, and it may not be a very slow, deliberate, giving no space arm bar. You're just going to attack what you have. But I think it's mostly slow, but there are some fast aspects to it.
Yeah, I think part of that is, I agree with you, mostly slow, but a lot of it's controlled by the guard player. If you want to have a spider guard and you just want to do a lot of movement and a lot of setups and some fakes and then throw on to something, that could be kind of a fast thing. Same thing with close guard. You could really move your hips a lot and kind of push them around a bit and really speed things up, but likely it's a slower pace thing, which you're able to control. So on those particular guards, I would say they tend to be slower, but there's definitely a gray area there that can be controlled by largely by the person on bottom. Guard passing from the knees.
Guard passing for the knees, I'm going to say a slow. I'm looking at pressure passing and just trying to get an advantageous position and put my opponent in the worst possible position, and I'm probably going to move very slow.
Guard passing from the kind of a medium range, standing up.
That I would say fast. There's some leg pummeling. There's controlling pant grips and stuff like that as I throw them out. But I would want some speed into that.
Yeah, and for the bottom player, if you're able to get a couple of pant grips or a pant grip and a grip up high, it could definitely slow things down.
Yes,
but it's advantageous for the person on the bottom and for the person who's trying to throw up a good sweep real quick or threaten submissions to use a little bit of speed in that spot. How about guard passing from a distance, like you're trying to kind of throw the legs to side or run around a little bit?
That's definitely speed right there. Especially if you're throwing something down and. I mean, both sides. As I throw the legs to one side, I'm really trying to, control your hips, get around and control your hips, and the person who gets their legs thrown are trying to recapture guards. So, that's very fast movements.
For me, I could answer this question. It's not a very good question. So, most sweeps fast or slow?
That's a crappy question, Byron.
Yeah, it is. I agree. I mean, you get swept sometimes in slow motion. It's like, I can't get my arm out. I'm stuck. My leg can't move, and you get swept. And some sweeps, it's like you get thrown to the ground, and you land hard, and there's nothing you can do about it either. So
I would say, they're on the faster side, but I do know what you're talking about, slow speed. And sometimes I think when I get swept, even though it's a really fast sweep, I feel like it's moving in slow motion. And it's kind of weird because I'm having so much fun getting swept. And like I have a smile on my face and I'm just like congratulating the other guy without saying anything. It's, that big smile and it seems like everything's moving in slow motion. And I'm just like, man, that guy just got me big time. And like, I'm so happy about it. I was like, that is so neat, so cool of a move. And it feels like it's moving in slow motion, but it's not.
Let's kind of pass and end up going to turtle guard. How is turtle guard for the bottom person, fast or slow?
The bottom person definitely slow, but I don't know. I really don't play turtle much, but I would say slow.
Yeah, and for the top, you could try to increase the speed. I think what's nice about turtle on top is you could introduce a little bit of confusion sometimes because they can't really see what you're doing so well.
Yeah, move one side to the other side.
Yeah. If they can't see what you're doing, which a lot of times they can't because looking at the ground, you might be able to kind of surprise them with something, and speed helps with that.
Yep, and poking people in the eyes will also make it a little bit harder for them to see too, and you can use that confusion there too.
And they'll probably slow down when their eyes get all watery, Gary.
Yeah, yep.
Basic side control, is that a fast or slow place to be?
Slow pace. I've passed. I've got a great position. I'm going to put some pressure on and start looking to attack a limb.
Let's pull over the car right there, Gary. For the bottom person, I think you want it to be a faster place. You want to encourage a little bit of distance would encourage some bit of a scramble. For the top person, slow it down,
Yep. Yeah, the bottom person, definitely. I'm trying to create space. I'm trying to get my hips out. Once I do get a little bit of spot, I want to go. I need to move quickly. I do not want that person to take that space back and smash me some more. So once I get a little bit of space, I've got to go quick. I got to go, but I got to be explosive.
Gary kind of hinted in a little tip there. Once he has that space, he goes. One of my things I get on people a lot that are trying to escape is you're doing a lot of movements and not really actually generating any sort of efficiency with those. Get your hands in the right spot, no big hurry, stay safe, protect your neck, get where you need to be and get your legs where you want them, and then go. And when it's time to go, you should go put some energy to it. You're not going to escape magically. You need to have some force and some energy behind the escape. But if your hands aren't right and if it's not your legs aren't in the right position, no reason going 100 miles an hour to get them there and just kind of spazzing out. Calm down, get in position, set up your escape, and then pull the trigger and try to escape with what you can there. Gary, from the back, is that a slow or fast place typically?
Typically, I'd say slow on both sides. I have your back. I'm trying to control position. I don't want you to get out. I don't want any space before I go for the submission. Then I'm going to explode normally. But defensive too. I guess defensive could be either way. I do see some people explode out of it, but I'm a different type of a guy defensively in a guard. I do go a little bit slower. I'm trying to protect my neck, trying to move off the center line, and I guess I'm not very explosive in that position, so I'm going to say defensively I'm slow there also. Yeah,
and it's okay to do. I mean, that the back is kind of a interesting position where you could hop on their back real quick and like Gary, when he takes your back, he literally starts choking you before even both hooks are in. Like he's getting the hooks in and the choke's also getting sunk in. He's back there literally doing a ton of damage all at once, and that seems very fast to me sometimes. It's like, man, I didn't even realize he had my back, and now he does, and now he has a choke as well. But as the person who's trying to get out, it seems like anytime I'm stuck in a submission, I try to slow things down a little bit and then work my way out. Some people do the opposite. They increase the speed, they step on the gas, and it's either I get out now or I don't. And if I don't, I'm going to tap in a few seconds. And I don't know what's right or wrong, and maybe it just depends on the situation. Sometimes I slow things down and it ends up costing me, getting tapped out. Sometimes I slow things down and they get a little tired, or I get my escape just right, and I get out of it relatively unscathed. So how about this, Gary? Basically stuck in a submission. What is your preferred speed when trying to weasel your way out of there?
When I'm stuck in a position, I'm moving. I'm trying to explode out of that. I do see slowness, but and grabbing an inch, every now and then. But I think the problem with that is it's a numbers game, it's a waiting game, and all the advantages with the offensive guys. So, when I get put in an arm bar, or I'm trying to explode out of there, I'm trying to roll really quick, or trying to create a little bit of space to get my elbow, to the mat. But there, I'm going to explode with everything I got.
Yeah, picture your side control escapes are so fast that nobody could really hold you in side control for more than a few seconds.
Yeah.
Well, in competition mode, you have to hold it for 3 seconds. If you can't hold somebody there and they escape that quickly, you really never pass their guard. And that's a good thing to do. As they're escaping, or as they're passing your guard, escape right now, and you've maintained guard, even though they might have got a complete pass. So I definitely urge people to escape quickly, especially in those transition periods that aren't favoring you. Get out of there now.
Yeah. Like I know, Byron, you are very, very quick in a lot of those positions. And, one of the things Byron always told me, is to work on that quickness. And I just never forget, like, what you would always tell me about how fast you were, how you'd always say that what you would do is every night before you go to bed, as soon as you got to your room, you would turn the light switch off and you would be in bed under the covers before the lights were out. And I just never could understand how quick you could be to do that. Until I went over to your house and I saw how bad your electrical wires were inside your house. And then I totally understood.
Nice. I was wondering where you go with that. But, bad wiring increases your speed by like 50%, Gary.
Yeah. But, no joke on this one, but, you're talking about bad wiring. And we've talked with Daniel Coyle about myelin, and how your brain works and your nerves and everything. And myelin, how do you explain myelin again, Byron?
Myelin is like it's literally, Gary, the material between your neurons and your brain.
Yeah.
And that will get thicker as you practice and train. So actually information can go quicker between things.
Faster.
So
yeah.
People say muscle memory, but it's actually just myelin is building and getting stronger. You're getting faster internet cables in your brain, and that's why things feel easy for you.
Yeah, it's just, as you do so many escapes over and over again, that myelin between your neurons just gets thicker and stronger, and like you said, a better connection. And when you really need to do that escape, as Byron goes for the armbar, my pathway is just so much faster now that I'm going to do that move quicker and hopefully explode out of there. So kind of reminded me as we were talking about faulty wiring. So you don't want to have faulty myelin either.
As you're learning a brand new technique, you're building the first couple of myelin that go across. And then as you drill it, it's getting thicker. As you pull it off while you roll, it's getting even better. If it's one of your BJJ bricks, one of your best techniques, the myelin between those neurons are very thick and it just flows. And that's really what you're working on.
Yep, like my myelin is weak when somebody's playing a joke on me because I don't ever get it. But it's going to get better and stronger.
And keep practicing, Gary, and I'll keep helping you. That's what friends are for.
Thank you. Yep.
We kind of covered a bunch of positions. There's limitless positions we could talk about, but gi versus no gi, I think I know where you stand on which one's quicker or which one might be a little bit easier to control the pace.
Yeah, and what's kind of crazy is here I am talking about I'm a slow grappler. And one of the things I didn't like as much about no-gi is I don't like the slower pace. I don't like, more smashing types, game. And it's kind of crazy considering I'm a slow grappler. I should excel at that. Instead, I want to do the style that's a little faster. So kind of makes no sense if you're, me.
Well, Gary, I've heard you say that many times about yourself. But you can slow things down in no-gi. I mean, like you said, an overhook or underhook, controlling the person's head, controlling their bottom leg if they're kind of on their side is a big way to slow them down. There's a lot of ways to slow somebody down. A big one is to grab their gi, control their sleeves, control their leg, control their collar, control their posture. That'll slow somebody down. And if you're wanting to speed things up, break those grips, and then you can engage your speed a little bit easier.
Yeah, yep, definitely. No-gi, I think, is a little bit faster, and gi, just with all the different ties you can have can, really slow the game down. But, you watch some of these high-level competitors, and, even in the gi, you see some incredible speed out there.
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest things, if you're wanting to have a fast gi match and to really be able to use your speed in a competitive setting in gi, be quick with your grip breaks. break the grip,
Yes,
be strong, and be all over those, and that will allow you to flow at a high rate of speed.
Yeah,
And,
But if you can't break those grips, it's going to be a slow match.
So, Gary, thinking about the long-term effects, so as people grapple for years and years in a lifetime, what would be some long-term effects of grappling fast? You're just a high-paced person, that's fine. You like to grapple fast all the time. What would be some good or bad long-term effects of grappling at a fast speed?
Well, you're going to have a low body fat percentage because you're going to burn a lot more calories, so you're probably going to look good with your shirt off. So I guess that would be a definite advantage. But, I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind, but I don't even know if this is true or not, I was thinking, I could probably grapple a little bit longer, with a slower pace. But I don't know if that's even necessarily true. I mean, I look at a lot of these very fast-paced people, and they're very technical. I don't see a lot of injuries, and so I don't know if that's true or not. If it just the first thing I thought was by going slow, I'd probably be able to have less injuries and train longer. But I don't know if that's even valid.
I think that there might be something to that. I think if you were to have a room full of people going really fast and a room full of people going slow, you'd expect there to be a few more injuries coming out of the quick room. Even just training on a crowded mat space, you're going to get more people kicked in the head, on an accident, and more people that are scrambling and that sort of thing. So I think there might be something to avoiding injuries by just going a little bit slower.
One thing I've noticed too, when I do try to go faster, I gas easier. So, I guess the people that, go at a higher pace, are going to be able to do it longer, probably do have a deeper gas tank than me. I do feel like I can, a lot of times I roll an hour straight, no problem. But, I do slow the pace down to myself. If I get it depends on who I roll with. The guy I was talking about earlier that kills me with that double leg blast, I'll go an hour with him, and the first 30 minutes I'm great. The last 30 minutes he's killing me because he's still got the gas tank and mine isn't there. But there's other people I roll, and I'll set an hour time limit on, and I'm okay. It's I think that the person who rolls faster is going to have a better gas tank, and if they can control the pace, they're going to put the other person in deep water.
Yeah, and from a competitive standpoint, you could feel when that happens to somebody. You feel that, the first 30 minutes, he's going good, and then something happens, and it feels like the guy just kind of lost whatever extra energy he was using, and it's almost a different person out there. And if you could not be that person, be the one that still is able to push through that, push the pace, really put them into that deep water, and hold them there for a little while, that's a huge advantage. And
it's great to hold their head underwater, or maybe even waterboard them. Just put them in a worse position.
Well, we're not endorsing any sort of activities that aren't just choking people, breaking their arms or breaking their legs, or perhaps a good spine lock, Gary.
Okay,
that's what
definitely.
we're endorsing here.
Okay.
Nothing mean, But yeah, there's a lot. Speed is definitely something that you should think about. How could somebody? I don't think it's hard or tricky, other than maybe a mental thing, to slow down. Like, just slow yourself down. I say that, and then I go too fast. So you have the physical traits to slow down, whether you can do it or not. Maybe you're too competitive to do it, even while you're training. But that would be something that you could do pretty easy. How could somebody be able to speed up, Gary? What would they need to be doing?
Well, I think it's the same thing. You just have to tell yourself, to go faster. And I do try to do rounds like that with myself, try to go a little bit faster sometimes, and not just changing pace. Some days I just say I want to try to roll a little bit faster, and you just got to mentally, just try to turn the speed up. And the one thing that I notice, if you're a little bit of slower grappler to trying to turn that pace up, if you start getting tired, because you're not used to that pace, it does become, very mental in there, where, you're trying mentally to keep pushing yourself, because, you do get exhausted a little bit quicker.
Yeah, you could hit the weights and do some interval training. Do some running at high speeds and slow speeds and high again. Try to change your body and make it a faster machine you're working with, and that might help you out a little bit. Definitely the cardio. If you keep going fast and you go fast for a minute and then you gas out, you're hitting a wall on that part. So increase that aspect of your jiu-jitsu to be able to maintain that speed that you have. And maybe if you just want to get faster, play a different style of game that lends itself to being a faster person, and just force yourself to be in those situations and to scramble and to work hard and to use that speed. Another thing that people think is speed, but it's actually a little bit different, is being able to anticipate your opponent.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really big one. And I mean, it comes with time. You're not going to have it right off the bat, but the more time you spend on the mat, the more you feel the little nuances of grappling. And I started saying, man, I'm starting to get this when you can feel, somebody's weight's a little bit off, or, that, and you roll them at that point, or where the moves are coming next, and, you're thinking a move or two ahead. And that's what I kind of was talking about when I'm trying to say I'm trying to be a little more efficient than the person I'm going against who's faster. I'm trying to anticipate where they're going and kind of cut corners and hopefully get there before at the same time, even though I am slower. So, I do think that's a great, it is different than speed. You're kind of using your brain a little bit to make up for that difference.
Hate it when you have to do that, Gary.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, but it does. You could seem a lot faster and get the same results by being able to anticipate your opponent. And it's a lot easier to anticipate your training partners because you know what they're going to do. Yeah,
you know where it's going. But even somebody you don't know, if you've been on the mat a lot and you have very good mat awareness, you can just feel the pressure. You can feel the angles, and your body just moves. You kind of just know by where the pressure's coming from, or the angle that person's at, where they're going next. And that's, in my opinion, that's my most fun part about jiu-jitsu is trying to anticipate and kind of getting some scrambles and that, and even though I may be a little slower, winning that scramble.
Yeah, and another way you could seem really fast is to lead them down a path. Close the other options for them. Make them think that they're doing this thing that they're doing. They're turning a certain way, or they're putting their hands here because they want to. But really, it's where you want their hands to be, or you want them to turn that direction. And then the techniques that you have ready and lined up for them will seem very quick because they had no idea they were there. So I think that's a good way, and that's a way that knowledge could kind of trump speed, or knowledge can make up for speed and make you get the same results.
Yeah, like you said about knowledge there, will trump out a lot of stuff. And, our, author of the quote, Anita Goodman, also had another quote that said, knowledge is power. So it kind of goes along with that. Knowledge will, allow you to, get an advantageous position on your partner.
Yep. Knowledge is speed and power.
Yep.
There you go. Gary said that one.
Who said that one?
Gary, I think.
Oh, Gary.
Yeah, he's
okay.
A smart guy.
Yeah. Yep. He knows Anita Goodman.
Well, speaking of smart people, Gary, we have another great article by our friend Joe Thomas. Why don't we get him on the line and discuss the article?
Let's do it. Today we have another awesome article from our partner here at BJJ Brick, Joe Thomas. This one is Positional Sparring, getting the most out of it. And Joe, thank you again for taking time out and coming on our show. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Yep, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Great.
So, Joe, talk to us a little bit about your article on positional sparring.
Okay. I don't know about you guys, but this is actually one of my favorite aspects of training. I feel being an older guy, it can be a little bit more slow paced. It's way less risk of any kind of freak accident, and it allows me to focus on particular moves, and I enjoy it. And I see a lot of benefit from other people as well. So it's kind of the fills in the gap between drilling a couple techniques and all-out live sparring.
Joe, I'm kind of with you on that too. Positional sparring really helps me out a lot. I know you said last show, old guy problems, but I think it allows us to save our body a little bit, but keep rolling through everything, going a little bit faster, but not 100%, and just saving our body for so we can train longer.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah,
so
it's a great way to really highlight one area of your game and drill down and work on that a ton. I think the example I use with this the most is how to escape a triangle, and then also for the person on the bottom, how to finish that triangle. Because really, if you think about it, how many minutes in the past month have you been stuck in a triangle fighting to get out? Maybe 5, 10 if it's a lot, or you have somebody who likes really triangling you and it takes a while to finish it. You could spend 10 minutes right now, stuck in a triangle, and either you get out 10 times or you get submitted 10 times or whatever. But that is time that it would take you on your triangle escape months to accumulate. And you could do it right now, within the matter of actual time that it just starting in that position and grabbing people with different skill levels, asking for advice. Your escape from that position or your ability to finish that triangle is going to skyrocket with that really deliberate practice in that particular area. And you can do this with any spot. It doesn't need to be triangle. It could be a particular guard pass or a particular gi choke or whatever. If you get a good training partner with you and you say, I want to work on this a little bit. And then it's also polite, I think, to offer them the reverse of it. Let them try the offense or the defense while you kind of flip-flop positions, or let them work on something else that they want to work on. So I really am a big advocate of positional sparring.
Well, Byron, I remember, years ago, every Friday night we would do that. Me, you, and maybe another guy or two would get together. And I remember you always wanted to start, triangle, a fully locked triangle, or getting out of it. And, my offense and defense got 100 times better. So definitely helped me out.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned to you guys that my coach at my home gym is really intellectual and analytical about the way he approaches instruction. And one thing that he does is every night the technique that he teaches is followed by positional sparring starting in that position. So if he teaches an arm bar from the guard, then we do a couple rounds, short rounds of positional sparring starting in the guard, switch top to bottom position. So my first point in the article, something people might want to consider doing when they're positional sparring is try the technique that was taught in class that night. I don't see it happen often, but anytime I'm positional sparring with somebody and they attempt the technique that was taught that night, I'll always compliment them on it and tell them I like to see that. There's no better time than when it's fresh in your mind to try and catch that in a more live environment.
Joe, I really like that. What I really liked is what you said about how you compliment the person who tried the move. And, I know you talked about it in the last the article on drilling. You were talking about, how you're trying to, help the people who are just starting. And, compliments go a long way. It's tough to stay in this sport. And, there are probably a lot of people at your gym who look up to you. And I know you said that, you don't feel like you're the guy to teach everybody, but you're a role model to a lot of people. And when they, get that compliment, it's, that's what great training partners do. They help each other out. And, just hearing you say that, it just made me realize that anybody who trains with you is a lucky person. You're a great training partner.
Well, I appreciate that, Gary. I'm sure it's the same at your gym. So,
well, Byron wouldn't say that. But,
well, maybe that's because you never compliment him.
Yeah, Gary, maybe it's you. Another thing you have on your list here is focus on accomplishing your goal more than preventing the other person from accomplishing theirs. And that is maybe not the most practical way to compete, but you're still, you're in a learning environment. You want to get the most out of your positional sparring. It's okay if they're learning too, and your defenses are down a little bit while you're doing this type of training.
yeah, certainly none of these points are applicable 100% of the time. The next one I put, always making progress towards your goals and not getting hung up in a stagnant position like quarter guard or something. Same with the one you just mentioned, Byron. If I was preparing for a tournament, I might look at this a little bit different, and I might be training and doing everything I can to prevent my partner from passing. But if I'm really trying to learn moves and refine moves, I don't want to spend a lot of time just stuck in a stagnant position during training.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think a big hurdle here is a lot of students have a little bit of a problem with figuring out that they're actually not competing while they're training or learning. And if you take yourself out of your element a little bit to try to learn something new, you're not going to do as well while you're doing that. And that's okay. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And so just kind of mentally brace yourself for that. Let that ego go and learn something new. And the rewards will be worth it in the long run.
Yep. I asked one of the young guys at the gym last night after we got done training. I said, how many matches did you win tonight? He thought about it for a minute. He said, well, I guess maybe I won one. And I kind of laughed. I said, wrong answer. We're here to learn.
That is definitely great.
He knows I'm just kidding him, but yeah, there's no real wins and losses on the training mat.
Yeah, it's really, it's all wins. You look at it, no matter what, you should be learning every time you go out there. It doesn't matter if you're going against the best guy in the world or the worst person in the world. You are going to learn. And that's why I love this sport so much. No matter how long I've been training, how long I've been on the mat, I'm always learning from somebody. And it doesn't matter if I'm more talented than that person or less talented. I can learn from everybody. And I think that's what makes it such a great sport.
Yep, certainly.
The last point you have on here is definitely a good one when mentioning getting the most out of your positional sparring time is don't default to your comfort zone. You have to try to leave that area to develop new skills that aren't in that area. And positional sparring is a great way to do that. If this guard technique typically gets your guard passed and you don't like having somebody in side control for 5 minutes, positional sparring is a great way to do that because if I try this technique, Gary passes, no big deal. We're going to start back in this technique again, and I don't have to worry about trying to escape a very tight side control that gives me a lot of trouble. So it's really like a free pass to keep trying again and again and again to figure out what to do correctly.
Yep. If you have good training partners, they're going to work with you a little bit too. I'm always trying to accomplish my goals when I'm sparring, but if I know that my training partner is working on a particular sweep or something, I might slow down a little bit and let them set things up and kind of work with them, and then I know that they'll return the favor sometime when I'm trying to work on something specific. So there's a little give and take, and just always trying to add new things to my game.
Yeah, that's the key. Like you said, give and take. We're here to make each other better. We're only going to get better by the people we train with. People look at it as it's an individual sport because you're out there on the mat by yourself, but there's no individual at all to this. The only reason I'm going to get better is because of training partners like Joe and training partners like Byron. The give and take, like Joe was just talking about, we're all here helping each other out and making each other better. And once again, as Joe says, train hard, train smart, and get better.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe, for hopping on here with us again. We look forward to discussing your next article, which is about rolling and getting the most out of that very soon.
Okay. It's been a pleasure, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep. Bye. Well, thank Joe for that one. It was great to have him back on the podcast, and we'll have him back again very soon discussing another article. This is Corbett's Kids with Corbett Miller. Corbett is a black belt under Sanji and Saulo Ibero. He runs an academy with over 250 kids doing jiu-jitsu. His kids' competition team is successful on multiple levels. And now he answers your questions about kids and jiu-jitsu. Corbett, are there any drills you recommend for kids learning jiu-jitsu?
Well, for me, it's. I think there's a tension always between like learning and competing and or the game of jiu-jitsu, and I think it's important whether that's the making it something that's not competition specific, where it's, giving them an ability to work on a drill or a skill and get a lot of deliberate practice, which I think is really what we want for our students. We want them to be able to independently and deliberately practice and make sure that it's a productive practice, trying to find ways of adding randomization, for lack of a better word, into their training, whether that's, practicing a sweep, but then giving the person different ways of countering it, I think is a great way of doing it. But then, just fun games, whether that's like, we do a game where, and again, this is not competition specific, but this could just be like a fun game. Stretch a rope across your school, width-wise. So, and then have the kids line up at one side of the mat, and the rope is about a foot off the ground, and the kids have to open the person's legs and find a way of jumping over that rope without touching it. And if they touch the rope, they've got to go all the way back over and start inside the closed guard from zero. And you've got like about 10 kids all trying to do this at the same time. And what does that work on? I mean, it's insanity. It's when the kids do it, it's crazy to watch them do it. It's fun. You hear a lot of giggling, which I think is a good thing. I think people forget that when they're having kids drilling. You don't want it to be like a zoo. You don't want it to be like a library either. You want it to be something where it's like there should be a certain amount of fun being had by the kids. And that little guard game is just a real simple example of that. You'll hear giggling going on, but yet it's a controlled, fun environment. One of my friends, in the stand-up world, he had this saying. He said, have fun, but don't act funny. There's a difference, right? So we want to make sure that we're dealing with that with the kids, especially any sort of drill that you might do.
That's a cool idea. This has been Corbett's Kids. If you have a question for Corbett's Kids, please send it to bjjbrick@gmail.com and we will pass it along. If you have an academy and want a Stronger Kids program, please check out kidsbjjrevolution.com. You will find drills, curriculum, marketing advice, and much, much more to support your kids' program. Check us out on social media. Gary, our YouTube page is doing very well. Or I guess it's more of a channel than a page. A lot of stuff on there. There's DVD reviews, a section of comedy stuff, and all the podcasts are up there eventually. And so if you want to listen to those or check out our stuff, check us out on YouTube. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, also check out our link to Patreon. Patreon is a website for content producers. This show is not free to put on. So we appreciate all those supporters who donate as little as 50 cents a show. And that Patreon website gives you an option to donate per show or, once a month if you want to. But we appreciate anybody who, we appreciate all you, but, we also appreciate the people who chip a little money our way to help put the show on. So thank you.
Yep, each one is definitely noticed and appreciated. Gary, I have heard word on the street is you have a audiobook coming out, my friend.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing on the street. Don't really know what's going on with my audiobook, but I'm sure you will let me know.
Yeah. As we mentioned, we met a new friend. His name is Jason. He came in and grappled with us. But something that we noticed about Gary is he wore his dress clothes to the mat, and then he left without another pair of shoes on. So he's in his T-shirt. He's in his no-gi shorts. Kind of board short style, and dress shoes. Some nice brown leather dress shoes, Gary. So your audiobook this week is titled Board Shorts and Dress Shoes. You got a problem with me? Huh? You got a problem? Gary, it looks like you're picking a fight out there, man.
Byron, the time, there's not a lot of time in the day. You think about, we go grocery shopping, we go to the drugstore, we go pick our kids up at school, we could take the dog for a walk. All those times is a great time to work on your jiu-jitsu. Most people think walking a dog, you're going to relieve a little bit of stress, you're going to have a happy dog, and you might burn a couple calories if you're trying to get in a different weight class. And, people will say that's, the reason I'm walking the dog. But I've come up with a whole new way to do every task around the house. Not even around the house, at work. Just any time during the day, if you dress a little strange, and we're talking about ankle tube socks and dress shoes with board shorts. Plus, I do have some thick glasses that I wear, and I have a receding hairline. You put all those together, and people are going to stare. People are going to laugh. People are going to make fun of you. But you know why that's good, Byron?
No, I don't.
I can practice jiu-jitsu any place, anywhere. I get threatened all the time dressed like that. There's nothing better than getting threatened at the grocery store. I mean, what a better place to practice technique. You know, somebody threatens me, and I put them in an armbar. Why is that so good that I put somebody in an armbar at the grocery store, Byron?
Because they might give you a discount on your groceries? I don't know, Gary.
No. If I hurt him, we go over to the frozen pea aisle, and I bring, frozen vegetables, and I put them on his arm. That way I don't hurt him worse. And a lot of times, they will realize how great of an art this is, and they will sign up for your class. What's the main thing we've been trying to do with this podcast? We're trying to grow the sport of jiu-jitsu. So the more bullies I can beat up because I dress funny, more people I can get, show the art to, and hopefully get them training. And it doesn't just happen in the grocery store. Same thing if we go to the drugstore. If I go in the drugstore and somebody starts laughing, same thing. I can put them to sleep, but the great thing about a drugstore is they have smelling salts. I can wake them up really quick. And then let's say they do have bruises or hematomas. We've got aspirin. We've got ibuprofen. We've got cold packs there. So, I mean, it works perfect, Byron.
Gary, I don't know why we're not all grappling in these stores already. I mean, it seems ridiculous that we're going to gyms with mats and not mixing it up in the produce section or the frozen food aisle, Gary. I think you're onto something here.
Yeah, but I am trying to think about a way that I could carry, a 10 by 10 dollar mirror roll-up mat with me. I haven't figured that out yet, but I think that would be great because it would reduce a little bit of injuries on my side. Sometimes pulling guard or jumping guard, on a tile floor can lead to some injuries for myself, and I'm not looking to injure myself. I'm just looking to injure the people making fun of me because of my dress shoes and board shorts.
Gary, it brings to my mind the time you actually jumped guard on the 87-year-old woman who was just commenting on your shoes. She wasn't making fun of you, and you ended up having to take her to the frozen pea section.
Well, the hard part
help her there.
On that one was she had a walker. So when I actually had to jump guard, I had to make sure my legs got around the walker. And I mean, that was tough. It wasn't easy. And when I say walker, I'm talking about one of those metal cages with the wheels on it, not like one of the walkers from The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah, not a pet walker.
Yeah, just to clarify.
A lot of times those walkers will have little tennis balls on them, talking about the things that help you walk, not the Walking Dead walkers.
You got that right, Byron. Yeah, they do have the tennis balls on them.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah.
If you see the tennis balls on the Walking Dead, kick them right there. That's your best bet, Gary.
Yeah, I think so. But definitely, so you do want to check out this audiobook, and it's just a good way to get more training time in, no matter where you go, and hopefully we'll grow the sport of jiu-jitsu that way. So definitely check it out. It's going to be out here soon, probably never, but if it does come out, check it out.
Gary, we had a great visit of our friend Jason stop by. How could somebody train with us?
If you want to train with us, just send us a message, bjjbrick@gmail.com. We're in the air capital of the United States, Wichita, Kansas. So if you happen to come out this way, let us know, and we'll see if we can get some training time in.
Absolutely. What do we have next week, my friend?
Byron, we have a very special guest next week. We have Sarah Durrott going to be on the show, and so it is going to be awesome. You do not want to miss it.
Yep. We are excited to bring you that interview. As always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to wear board shorts with dress shoes.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
All right, my friend. Little note here. After we got in recording, the episode went great, I thought. I needed to find a picture to represent the topic of your speed and jiu-jitsu. So I was looking around and trying to figure out what to use, and I came upon the movie poster for Speed. Well, that stars Keanu Reeves, and I ended up switching out Keanu Reeves' face for Gary's face. And he has no idea this is on there as of when this comes out anyway. So swing by the website and look for episode 184, or look in the show notes, and you'll see Gary as the main actor in the movie Speed. And just a little, I guess, tiny prank that I'm pulling on him here after the episode's actually recorded. So that's kind of fun as well. We'll catch you guys next week.